Civilight Eterna S3 looks like a burst healing skill, but how does it actually work? So let's look at what her skill does on paper. Let's assume that she's max level S3M3 with no module. First, the skill boosts her trait effect from 10% to 90%. In other words, she will be regenerating 90% of her attack per second to all operator in her range. Second, it will increase her attack range to be similar to Zarya S2 range, so it hits a lot of tiles. The particles will no longer disappear when they touch operators, but the effect will still be applied. The HP of all operators in range will be redistributed. I understand that this one is a bit confusing, I'll go into it later. And finally, all operators gain max HP inspiration equal to 100% of Civilight Eterna's max HP. Alright, so let's look at what each part of the skill does in detail. Let's start with the trait increase effect. At max trust, Civilight Eterna will regen a minimum of 359 HP per second. On top of that, operators affected by Talent 1 will get a 50% bonus, so they will be regenerating around 540 HP per second. As usual, because this is a health regen, it affects those that can't be healed, for example, summons, solo blades, juggernauts. However, it does not affect some of the deployables, like the Poziomka typewriter and the stainless S3 turret. It also works on things like shield guards. If you can click on them, it probably works. So we can see a big jump in HP, and then after that, if you let it go, the regen does its work like magic. So this is what the skill range looks like. Operators on red tiles will be hit by the particles and get Talent 1 effect, and operators on yellow tiles will not get hit, so no Talent 1 effect. The next effect is that particles no longer disappear. So Civilight Eterna's particles are used to apply her Talent 1 to operators. Off skill, she can have a maximum of 3 particles and they spawn every 6 seconds. The effect they apply lasts for 6 seconds, so in effect a maximum of 3 operators will be affected by her Talent 1 at once. On skill, the maximum doesn't change, but the particles don't disappear, so a single particle could affect up to 8 operators in the tiles next to her. In other words, if they clump up, you can get 8 operators with 540 HP regen per second. Finally, the HP redistribution. I know this is a confusing part of her skill and that the description is not terribly helpful. So I tried it out to figure out exactly how it works. There's a few steps that go into it. When you start a skill, the first redistribution is done immediately. Now, how it works is it takes the sum of current HP of all operators in range and divides that by the sum of max HP of all operators in range. This gives the global HP percentage. And then it changes the HP of all operators in range to match that percentage. Immediately after that, it applies the HP inspiration and does the redistribution again. And then after that, every 2 seconds, it recomputes the ratio of current HP to max HP of operators in range, and it keeps applying the effect. Essentially, during S3, the operators in range get a global HP pool, and every 2 seconds, they get their fair share of HP. Let's look at a few examples. First example is really simple. We're using a half HP Zola and max HP Civilight Eterna. We'll activate the skill and we'll see that Zola's HP will jump a bit and that Civilight Eterna's HP will go down a bit. Then immediately after we let it go, Zola's max HP will increase and his current HP will jump a bit. This is because of the HP inspiration that gets applied afterwards. But in terms of percentage, it's the same percentage that got applied. And then as we let it go, we can see that the health regen is going on and they get to max HP pretty easily. Here's a second example with a very low HP Zola and max HP Civilight Eterna. Between the two of them right now, they have roughly 2000 HP. So after the first redistribution, Zola will get roughly 1300 HP and Civilight Eterna will get roughly 700. Then, when the second redistribution happens, Zola's HP will jump to roughly 2k to account for his new maximum HP. Finally, with 3 operators. As you might expect, things scale with the more operators you have. So Zola is very low HP, and the other operators are max HP. So when the skill is activated, Zola gets more HP in one go compared to the previous example. And of course, as you had more max HP operators or higher HP operators in the pool, especially if they have high max HP, then the jumps are even bigger. In conclusion, Civilight Eterna S3 is, in fact, a burst healing skill. It works a bit differently, spreading the HP of all the operators in range in equal proportions to everyone, but in practice, it's just a lot of healing. However, be careful to not mistime the skill, because otherwise, well, you die.